Hey everybody, Jeremy here. Today we are going to be making dessert inside of the Ninja Foodi. We're going to be making the berry upside down cake. This is going to be a recipe right out of the official Ninja Foodi cookbook. It is on page 56. And it doesn't take a lot of complicated ingredients to make. We just got some frozen fruit and some pretty common ingredients like flour, sugar, butter, stuff like that. And we're going to be pressure cooking, and we are also going to be using the crisping lid in this as well to finish this up. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is add 1 bag of frozen blueberries to the Ninja Foodi pot. The recipe calls for 12 ounces, but a regular bag, kind of like the ones that I have, are going to be about 16 ounces. So I'm just going to add everything in there. Feel free to pick out a few and just eat them as you go if you want. There we go. I'm also going to add 3 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, so that's 1, and 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, and 3 tablespoons of regular granulated sugar. Now that everything's in here, we're just gonna roughly mix it up a bit. Everything is still frozen, so nothing is going to be melted right now, but we're just going to mix it up. And now we are going to start pressure cooking it. We're going to grab our pressure cooking lid and put it on. And I'm going to turn it on, pressure on high for 5 minutes. So it's not a bad idea to go ahead and put some of the dry ingredients together while the pressure cooking is happening, just so you won't have to worry about it later. So what I have in here are 2 cups of flour, and then I also have 1 cup of regular old sugar, and I have 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. So that's just sitting there, and I'm going to mix it all together once that pressure cooking is done. The pressure cooking is done, but before we release the pressure, we're going to let it naturally release for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to do a quick release and then finish putting together the rest of the ingredients. Great, 5 minutes have passed. Now let's do a quick release of this pressure. So before I show you what it looks like, we are going to have to use the sear saute function of the Ninja Foodi now. So we're just going to stop this. I'm just going to hit the power button, turn it off, and turn this back on. I'm going to hit sear saute, medium high heat, start. So we're going to get this going. It's going to be about 10 minutes or so, and we're just going to continue to stir it so that it becomes thicker. Let me give you a closer look at what it looks like. So here's a look at it now. See that those cherries and blueberries are nicely well combined, and it's just a really dark purplish color. So we're going to let this go for about 10 minutes. What we want to do is basically thicken this up. And once we're done with that, we're going to set this over to the side so that we can continue to work on the dry ingredients. And then we're going to put this whole thing together. Now, in the final step, it is going to take 40 minutes to completely bake the cake. So you don't have to worry about sitting around babysitting it. You can go do something else. But for now, let's just give this about 8 more minutes or so, and then we'll work on the rest. The berry mixture is out of the Ninja Foodi. I took out the bowl, and it's just resting on the countertop, and it's going to be that way for about 15 minutes or so. In the meantime, inside of this bowl, I have 3 eggs, a cup of sour cream, and then I also am going to add in 5 tablespoons of melted butter. And we're going to whisk all this together. Now remember the flour mixture that we had earlier with the flour and the sugar and the baking powder and stuff like that. I'm going to slowly add that to this bowl, and we're going to whisk that as well. So I'm not going to add it all at once, just a little bit at a time. I really need to get a stand mixer. Anyway, I'll come back when I'm done with this. It's been a little over 15 minutes that the berry mixture here has been cooling on the countertop, and now we are ready to take the batter that we just made and we're going to put it on top of this and we're going to smooth it out. So I'm just going to get some of this just to show you. Just sort of dollop it on, kind of like that. And then we're just going to smooth it over after we have added it all into here. So this is going to be a pretty boring process. So I'll come back once I'm done. So I smoothed it over as best as I could. We're going to see how this turns out. But we're just going to put it right back inside of the Ninja Foodi pot. We are going to close the air crisping lid. And we're going to turn it back on. Hit the air crisp button. 325 degrees for 40 minutes. And I'll come back when it's done. All right, that was 40 minutes. Now let's open up the Foodi, see how this looks. All right, here we go. So for the most part, it looks like it's separated over from the sides there. So it shouldn't be hard to remove. But before we actually see how it looks outside of the pot, we're going to have to take it out, put it on the countertop, and it's going to rest and cool off for about 15 to 20 minutes or so. So once that happens, we're going to try to take it out and just see what it looks like outside of the pot. And of course, give it a taste. Let the cake cool off for about 20 minutes or so. Probably could have let it cool off for a little bit longer because that pot, the Ninja Foodi pot, tends to retain heat really well. But anyway, I did my best to flip it right side up from the Ninja Foodi pot, which is very non-stick, so that wasn't difficult to do. And I put it on this plate, and here you go. So there's a whole lot of berry going on the underside of this here cake. So that being said, I think now is time to cut into this and just to see what it tastes like, you know? All right, so I'm just gonna cut this little end piece here. Cut that there. And now, let's give this cake a taste. I'm gonna eat it right off the knife. I don't feel like getting a fork. Yep, that is good cake. Now, if you didn't want to use cherries and blackberries, you want to use some other type of berry, I can't imagine a reason why you couldn't use whatever type of fruit that you wanted for this particular cake. But this is good and is best served with like some whipped cream or ice cream, you know, just something to add some more moisture, a little bit more flavor. But this is a good cake, and it is cooked all the way through. Completely cooked all the way through. So pretty cool that you can do all this inside of the Ninja Foodi in just the one pot. And if you're wondering if it's like super sweet, you know, the cake itself is not too sweet. It does taste like cake, but you don't need the actual cakey part to be all that sweet because you got this topping. This topping is plenty sugary. So yeah, this was really interesting. It was fun to do. And yeah, you should definitely try it out. Try it out with some different types of fruit. And if you do, let me know how it turns out. So thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, I'm Jeremy, and I'll talk to you later.